So some stuff just leaked about an upcoming Star Wars game, and if it's true, it's gonna be amazing. This is specifically about the upcoming Ubisoft Star Wars game coming from Massive Entertainment. Not a whole lot is known about it, but a recent leak, or what's being alleged as a leak, would have us believe that it's going to be the Star Wars game of our dreams. Now, you guys know me, I really like to avoid hyping people up unnecessarily, at least not until there's adequate evidence to justify the hype. And in this case, we're talking about allegations, rumors, and a company that doesn't have the best track record with delivering on its promises. So, word of warning up front, this whole video is going to be a roller coaster. I'm going to hype you up and you're going to be like, wow, this could be the best Star Wars game ever made. And then I'm going to tear you down and you're going to leave this video thinking, oh, well, crap. You know, just the way everybody should leave a YouTube video. Like, you come in all excited and you leave kind of depressed. We're going to jump right into it. All I ask is that you follow me on Twitter. I have all of these social media platforms set up, and my New Year's resolution was to tweet more often so I could interact with more of you. So if you have Twitter and you would like to follow me, I would appreciate it. Okay, enough e-begging, let's talk about this. So the first thing that you need to understand is that Star Wars is a franchise that's been pretty heavily underutilized in the gaming space over the last 10 years or so. We got, of course, Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, which we just won't talk about how that went at launch. And we did get the gem that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which I've actually been replaying recently over on stream at Luke Stevens Live. If you just go into the YouTube search bar, type in Luke Stevens Live, you'll find my live streaming channel where we post stream highlights, where we stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm probably live streaming at the very moment this video goes live, so afterwards you should come and say hi. I'd love to see you. But the point is, and what I was trying to say is that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was actually pretty good. However, that's only like 3 major entries and big AAA releases in the span of like 10 years. And that's not a lot for what is supposed to be one of the biggest franchises in the universe. Was I supposed to say like in the galaxy, far, far away? I don't, no. Quick sidebar, my name is Luke. Obviously, you could see it in the channel thing down below. So my whole life, I've had people come up to me and claim to be my father, thinking it's really, really funny. So I've always been sort of half turned off to Star Wars because ever since I was little, it's always been associated for me with really annoying adults and teenagers thinking they're clever by misquoting a movie line, coming up to me and being like, Luke, I am your father. Like, it's not witty and it drives me kind of crazy. But that being said, I still like Star Wars as a franchise, and I think that the universe itself is really, really interesting, which is why it's so baffling that we haven't really seen many high-quality exploration, adventure-based games in the Star Wars universe. Every time we see one that we think is going to be really interesting and cool, like Project 1313 or something like that, it ends up just getting canceled or in development hell, and it never sees the light of day. But according to some reporting by Insider Gaming, Disney actually plans on having at least one Star Wars game coming out every 6 months starting this year. Like, that's insane. And as you can see here, this is a list of all of the ones that we currently know about that are in the works at different studios throughout the world. There's Amy Hennig's game at Skydance Media, an untitled first-person shooter in the Star Wars universe by Respawn, same guys that did, of course, Jedi Fallen Order, and then they also are doing the sequel to that, and then they're also working on Apex and all that stuff. Respawn's very, very busy. The open world Star Wars game, which is what we're going to talk about today, being developed by Ubisoft Massive. Star Wars Eclipse being developed by Quantic Dream, which are the same guys that did Detroit Become Human. Knights of the Old Republic remake through Saber. Jedi Survivor, which again is Respawn. Star Wars Hunters by Zynga, who cares? And then an untitled strategy game, again by Respawn. Very busy. So this seems to be something that Disney is trying to rectify. They know that the production schedule's been kind of problematic up to this point, and they want to fix it by putting out some amazing Star Wars games by top-tier developers throughout the industry. More than anything, this progress seems to be related to EA and their exclusive deal with Disney for the Star Wars franchise coming to an end. So now they can have other major studios work on it, and that seems to be primarily the reason we're seeing so many games start production in the Star Wars universe. And I think that's a very, very good thing, because EA really was just not doing a great job. I understand that they still have some exclusivity, I think with the Battlefront franchise and some other little tidbits, but my understanding is now that complete exclusivity to the Star Wars franchise has lifted, and now it's going to other publishers and developers as well. But what's the big thing that we're actually here to talk about? What are the leaks that are getting so many people extremely excited, even though they probably should take it with a big grain of salt? Well, it all stems once again from an interview that came off of Insider Gaming, or not necessarily an interview, but an alleged piece of knowledge that they had from previous interviews. It's messy. This entire article that spawned all of this excitement online through Twitter, Reddit, everywhere else, was basically just quoting a tweet. That's it. And we'll circle back to this tweet later on in the video when I crush your dreams and expectations. We'll get to that because I think that this might be blown a little bit out of proportion, but again, we'll get there. But it's not actually the tweet that this article is about that people were interested in. It's actually what they just casually wrote above it that got people really intrigued. And it's specifically these two highlighted sections. First things first, from what we already know, the Ubisoft Star Wars game will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to that found in No Man's Sky. In the game, players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy bursting at the seams with activities. Now that's news to a lot of us, because as far as I've been able to find, that's not been confirmed by Ubisoft Massive, the developers. That's not been confirmed by anybody, and nobody has been quoted as saying that. Now, I may be mistaken, and maybe out there is a quote from a developer or something that says this was the vision. I just haven't been able to find it in time to make this video. But whether or not somebody said that that was the vision is sort of irrelevant to the point that I'm going to be making in this video. But the point of this particular section is just that they're saying, according to their sources, the vision of this game is for it to have a seamless universe like No Man's Sky, where you can go from planet to space and then float around different systems, and it's like a crazy whole thing based on exploring a galaxy. They go on to say at the heart of the game sits an in-depth, lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the gamer themselves. There are decades worth of lore, locations, weapons, and characters for Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment to draw from, so the game itself should be something special. It may even rival Starfield, which is due to launch in 2023. Now again, like I said, I'm gonna tear this down in just a minute and shatter all of your hopes and dreams. But before I do that, I want to say that this isn't actually the craziest thing that I've heard related to Ubisoft and a game that they're working on. You see, the idea that they could have tech where you can navigate planets and then leave the planet seamlessly and go to a different planet, just like in No Man's Sky, that's not actually that scandalous or outrageous a concept. And in fact, Ubisoft had the tech for that system 5 years ago, and they showed it off publicly. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about? Well, that's honestly quite fair, because the video in which they showcased this tech has been largely forgotten because it was actually being showcased for a different game which has been in development hell for well over a decade. That's right, it's for Beyond Good and Evil 2, a game which was initially announced back in like 2008, I think, and since then has just been swirling in the pools of Ubisoft with seemingly no progress being made. However, in this video that they released in 2017 at E3, they showcased some tech that they had developed for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is honestly extremely impressive. So the showcase begins by him showing off how their system allows you to navigate a city with this jetpack, fly around, pretty typical stuff, and nothing that would shock you if you've played any of the recent Assassin's Creed games, where you know you can like fly the bird that you have for that particular game around the map and then zip back to the character. None of this is particularly like jaw-dropping, if you've seen anything Ubisoft has done in the last 5 years. But what is impressive is what he goes on to show later on in this demo. Specifically, he showcases this streaming tech, which allows him to be on a planet with a city and then seamlessly zoom out in real time all the way outside of the planet, and then immediately pop back to the city without so much as dropping a frame. This is running in real time. He's running this off of a computer in the summer of 2017. And then you'll see in a moment, he presses one button and is able to snap back to that city that he was loaded into. This tech was working 5 years ago, and so it's not that crazy. Look, boom, right back. This was working 5 years ago. It just never was put into a game. It just kind of sat in the coffers of Ubisoft tech and seemingly never saw the light of day. However, that might be changing with this Star Wars game. They might be using this system they developed for this game that has never released and then just applied it to Star Wars. This is why this leak that they're gonna do something like No Man's Sky where you can travel this whole planet and then you can zip around the solar system. That's not actually that crazy because they've shown off that they can do it and they did it 5 years ago. So they've probably made a little bit of progress since then. They also showcased this other stuff with this like ship that you can fly around the planet at crazy high speeds. I mean, you see right now it's like 30,000 kilometers an hour or something like that. And it's just zipping around the planet. No frame drops. They're just making it look easy, right? Granted, this is not a finished game and this planet is very, very empty, but it's still working. It's a prototype, right? And it actually kind of weirds me out how much this looks like No Man's Sky. It's a little close for comfort. You can definitely see the inspirations, but the point is it's not that crazy to say that they used this tech in a Star Wars game that hasn't been out yet. So I don't think this is that outrageous. Ubisoft shares tech between studios and developers all the time, so there's nothing crazy about it. But okay, now for me to rain on your parade and explain why almost every little bit of this seems to be hog water. For one, if we go back to the article, you can notice in this paragraph especially that there's something that I at least was taught in some marketing classes in college is known as keyword farming. I'm sure there's a proper name. This is just what my professor called it. But basically what it is when you're like writing an article or doing some website optimization for your small business, and you just fill out basic sentences with a ton of keywords, which probably will allow it to rank higher in search results. So if you were going to say, hey, our car wash offers X, Y, and Z, you say our car wash located in this area that's commonly searched for, that's affordable, clean, and efficient, that's insured, protects your vehicles, can do X, Y, and Z. You fill in all of those keywords and it'll rank higher in the search results. And when I look at this screams to me that they're doing the very same thing. No Man's Sky is a commonly searched term online. It's a very popular game even to this day, even becoming more popular by the day as it continues to sell very, very well. So to put in No Man's Sky is certainly going to help this article show up in some people's search results, let's be completely honest. Not to mention, it's a pretty bombastic claim, so that also is going to catch people's attention. But the thing that really sold me on this was this part down here. It may even rival Starfield, which is due to launch in 2023. If you think that this Star Wars game would have the slightest thing to do with Starfield besides just being set in like a sci-fi space setting, then you really should not be writing articles related to video games at all. What this screams to me is like a contract writer or somebody who's just trying to, like, again, put keywords and eye-catching things in their article so that it pops a little bit more. It's like when you read a really mundane article about like sales numbers for the Xbox Series X, and then they fill in the article how the console runs Fortnite great and the new Call of Duty update works really well in it. It's like, that didn't have anything to do with what you were talking about. You're just trying to put those terms in your article so that the Google search engine bots and crawlers can recognize that you were talking about that and then maybe rank it higher. This is a major, major red flag. Red flag. See, it came back. It's going to keep coming back because there's a lot of red flags in this industry right now. And so I'll happily wave it whenever I see something that warrants it. Furthermore, like I said, the entire point of this article was this tweet. The whole premise was Ubisoft creative director hints at Star Wars news in 2023. They casually drop these bombs like it's nothing, and then they put the tweet in here and don't say anything more beyond that. That's it. They then go on to quote something that this guy previously said about the game, that they want to have a captivating story and characters to connect with. Typical stuff I think everybody would say about their game, regardless of whether it's related to Star Wars or not. And then they end the article and link to another one that they wrote that we touched on earlier. But you notice that this tweet just ends right there. They don't show the reply and follow up that Julian actually posted. So what is the full context of this? Well, what he said was, Happy New Year to you all. 2023 is going to be huge for us. Join the adventure. Hashtag Massive Star Wars. Dun dun. Dun-na-na. And this, of course, got people super excited because they saw this and went, oh my God, he's saying that 2023 they're going to launch the game, which is what was heavily implied and even outright stated in this article, where they go on to say, right here, here's a look at the tweet that may have confirmed news of their game coming this year, if even a ridiculously broad one. But here's the thing, Julian followed up on this, granted about 2 days later after seeing that this was getting a lot of traction online, and he said, quote, this seems to have sparked quite some interest. To be clear, I meant that 2023 will be a huge year for our teams building our game, which you could be a part of. For official news, keep it on Ubisoft. And that's it. He's just saying they're building the game and you could be part of it. You could apply and get a job with us if you want. And then we're going to keep building the game together. He's just saying like, yeah, it's going to be a huge year. We're doing a lot of work on this. And that's it. But you notice there's no update. There's no like recent news or tweak to the article mentioning this. There's nothing. It's just heavily implying that this tweet says something it doesn't, and then leaving it at that. And I just find that to be a little lame. So to be clear, I don't think that this tweet is saying what the author of the article thinks that it's saying, and it seems as though the tweet author, Julian, followed up and clarified as much. Furthermore, I don't know where they're getting this idea that it's going to be like No Man's Sky. That seems to be something they added in there just for quick and easy clicks, and it doesn't seem to be corroborated by anybody. While the claim itself isn't ridiculous, it's just that. It's a claim. It's just something being tossed out there and nobody's gonna check it. Nobody's gonna be like, oh no, that's not true, because the developers don't want to come out and piss on the parade and be like, no, the last game we worked on was The Division 2, and so we're just gonna do The Division, but with Star Wars characters, and that's gonna be like the game. And then they're just going to leave it at that. Like, they're not going to piss on the parade like that. Instead, they're just going to be quiet, hope people forget about this nonsense, and then move on. And lastly, the idea that this studio, Massive Entertainment, is going to be putting out this Star Wars game in 2023 is just kind of insane, because we know of a game that they are working on that will release this year. Certainly, Ubisoft has confirmed it. And that's Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. They've been working on this game. This is their next project. It was supposed to come out last year. They delayed it to this year. So the idea that they're going to launch this in like June and then a few months later launch another huge No Man's Sky-esque Star Wars game is just a little silly. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to be wrong and this is going to end up being one of the most amazing turnaround times of game development in human history, and it'll blow us all away. Or maybe this article, which has some red flags in it and seems a little bit flimsy, is just a pile of made up speculative nonsense. And that's it. As for the specific claims made within the article, like I said, I'm not sold on it. It really seems to be just a bunch of stuff made to help the article rank higher in search engine results and to be like clickbaity without any truth in it. But you know what? That's just my gut reaction to that. This studio has no history of tech like that and of doing things like that. I wouldn't expect it. So I would take that with a huge old grain of salt. But here's the great thing about having a skeptical worldview and outlook on things. If it comes out and they do have that type of game design and the game is the Star Wars game of our dreams, I'll be all the more excited and pumped about it because I was like, no way they're going to be able to do that. I don't think so. I just don't buy it. I'm not convinced. And then when they surpass my expectations, I'll be all the more excited. Whereas if I just were to blindly accept it right now because I want it to be true, I would end up being disappointed when it almost certainly ends up not being true. So sorry to rain on the parade, everybody. I just had to talk about this. Somebody brought it up on stream like yesterday. And so I was like, okay, we gotta touch on this. And then the more I dug into it, the more I was like, what? Why is anybody taking this seriously? It's insane. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. I'm sorry to disappoint you and that this video basically came down to ignore all of this. It's almost certainly not true, but you know what? Some videos just end up being like that. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribe for more skeptical and level-headed takes in the gaming industry. At least that's what I try to do. And join us over on Luke Stevens Live. Like I said, I'm probably live at this very moment. So I'll look forward to seeing you. But with that, I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.